Hi, welcome back to Singapore Max Model Drawing. Now, today I'm going to show you another problem on how do we draw out this problem when they are fractions. So every time when they are fractions, we will usually use model. And so this problem is going to be quite complicated for many students because they see a lot of fractions and there's a lot of information inside. So that's why when they look at this problem, students will find that it's very challenging. But it is not, because when you apply the model drawing onto this problem, you can actually work out the answer very fast. So let's see how we draw. Now, in May, Mr. Ahmad saved one third of his salary. So there is a fraction here, and one third of his salary, and he used one fifth of his monthly salary to buy a mobile phone. And he spent 3 over 8 of the remainder on transport. And the rest of the money was spent on food, and he spent $1,750 on food. So what fraction of his monthly salary was spent on food? And what was Mr. Ahmad's monthly salary? So there's a lot of key values, a lot of information. So how do we break down the problem? By drawing out the sentences one by one. So you will see that when you look at how I draw, it's like very simple. But like what I mentioned in the earlier lesson video, there are things to know. There are lessons to know about how to draw a model before you can come to this level of drawing. But it's not hard to learn, right? It's not hard to draw out this problem, which is at primary 5 level. So how do we draw out this problem? Now, there are a few fractions here. So which fractions are talking about the same thing? You have one third and there's a one fifth. These two fractions are talking about the salary, which is the same thing. So you can actually make the denominator the same. So you have 3 times 5 and 1 times 5, 5 times 3 and 1 times 3. And you're going to use the fractions to draw the model. So Mr. Ahmad saved one third, which is 5 over 15. So his salary has a total of 15 boxes. So let's cut into 15 boxes. So you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And he saved 5 units, 5 boxes. So you have to label, right? And then continue to read the next part of the sentence. And he used one fifth, which is 3 over 15. So he used 3 units to buy a mobile phone. And you continue to label. And you have drawn the first sentence already. So model drawing is like what I said before. We don't really solve when we are drawing. We focus on the entire drawing first, then later we use the model to solve. And he spent 3 over 8 of the remainder. So where is the remainder? Well, if you look at the model, the remainder is actually on the right side. So this is the remainder, which is how many boxes? You can see that there are 7, right? 7 boxes. So can we cut it into 8? So we cannot. So what do? We actually drop down. Okay, we drop down the remainder, and this is what the school teacher in primary schools, right? They are teaching their students how to do this, how to drop down. So you drop down the model and you cut into 8 boxes, right? 8 boxes. And then what do you do on the model? You continue to label. You spend 3 over 8 of the remainder on transport, and the rest of the money was spent on food, and you continue to label, right? So you have drawn until this sentence already. So model drawing is the drawing from the beginning to the end. So you don't draw backwards, neither do you just draw anywhere you want. You always start from the beginning of the problem and you draw sentence by sentence until the end of the story. So you keep reading. Uh, so he spent $1,750 on food, and you continue to add on to your model, right? And you actually have drawn the entire problem. Yeah, so that's how you draw this model, which is not quite hard to draw. And the question mark. So where do you put the question marks? Because the problem is asking you to find some things. So what are the question marks that you should put? Where do you put it on the model? So what fraction of the monthly salary was spent on food? So if you cannot put the question mark because you are asked for a fraction, then you don't put. But if you look at part B, can you put the question mark? So what was Mr. Ahmad monthly salary? So where is the question mark? Which is the entire rectangle over here. So that is your part B, which is what you're supposed to find. And your model is done. All right, so what is a good model? A good model is when you look at the model, you don't need to look at the question. You can actually solve it already without looking at the question. So you look at the model, you can see that the boxes are not the same size. There are big boxes and there are smaller ones. So I will put 8 units there. 8 units inside every one of the box. And why do we do that? Because you want to make this part of the model to be equal number of units. And over here, I will put 7. Okay, 7 units. Right, so you can see that instead of cutting into many boxes, I actually put the number of units. I put the number into the boxes. And if you count the units inside, there are 56 units above and below. That's how you cut it and make them equal. All right, so again, there's a lesson on how to do this. So this video or this lesson video is to show you how to draw the model. So we won't talk about why do we do this, okay? We will talk about that in the actual lessons. So for every box, you will put 8 units, right? So you do the same for every one of these boxes that you see. And now the model becomes more clear. And you can actually get your answer for part A. So what fraction of his salary? So if you look at the entire model, how many units is all the salary, which is 15 boxes, and every box is 8 units. So 15 times 8, that will be 120 units, which is his salary. And how many units was spent on food? You can actually count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 35 units, right? 7 times 5 is 35 units. So you got your fraction already. And then you have to simplify the fraction. So divide by 5, and 120 divided by 5, you get 24. So 7 over 24 of his salary was spent on food. So you can see that the steps are there are no steps when you do part A, right? Because the model has given you the fraction. You are able to use the model to work out the fraction answer very fast without any steps. So this is the effectiveness of model drawing. And how about part B? Can we do part B? Yes, we can. The model will guide you. If you have a good model, it will guide you. So you look at the model, you can see that 35 units are spent on food. So that will be 1750. So can you find how much is 1 unit? So 1 unit will be, so your 1 unit will be, okay, let me just write again. So 35 unit is 1750. So your 1 unit will be 1750, and then you divide by 35. And you will get 1 unit is $50. And can you find how much is the monthly salary, which is 120 units altogether? So 120 units will be 120 times 50, and you will get $6,000. And you can see that even the steps are also very simple to write, right? So if you don't draw a model, which is nothing wrong, unless if you know how to solve it, you can find that if you don't draw a model, you may have a lot of steps because you're trying to work out the answer. But when you draw the model, what happens? The model will show you the steps, will guide you how to write the steps. And the steps are simple if you draw a good model. So you can see that is how I break down the problem, right, in the visual form. So that if your child or any student, right, who doesn't know how to solve the problem, he has to learn how to draw out the problem. And then he'll be able to see the problem more clearly, and then he'll be able to solve it on his own. So this is called model drawing. All right. So I will see you in the next many lessons on model drawing in Singapore model drawing, because in Singapore we use model drawing, which is one of the methods, the main method to solve many hard problems. So see you in our next video.